Welcome back to Geelong and the 2020 Worlds. After a really long day of a lot of waiting around this morning, rain this afternoon, the 49ers are still out there. Luckily, we have the FX Sailors back just in time for our daily show. And what we're talking about today is different types of training teams and training partners and different approaches to whether it be national teams or solo training squads or international training squads. So on my left, we have Thomas from Norway, and we have
Odile.
Odile and Cecile, your crew. Odile from the Netherlands, and then we have Helene, who's also from Norway. Thomas is our coach, and so we have two different types of training partners represented here. On the Norwegian side, Norway, Brazil, and New Zealand have teamed up to be training partners for the last, how long has that been?
Since after Rio.
Since after Rio. So for almost four full years right now. And then Odile and the Netherlands have a real tight national training program where they almost interchange sailors, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes.
Cool. And we want to find out what some of the benefits are to, or maybe it's just by necessity to have international training partners instead of a national squad. But let's start with that. Helene, you guys have chosen to have three separate teams from three separate countries, and it's actually worked out well.
Yeah, it's been good for us. But when we started or continued after the Rio Olympics, there was no other Norwegian team, so we kind of didn't have a choice. And then we went to Brazil and trained with Martina and Kayana leading up to the games, so we helped them because we weren't qualified at that time. And then we started training with the Kiwis as well because they teamed up before Rio, the Brazilians and the Kiwis. And then I think for us, just knowing that like the last cycle, we had another Norwegian team, and it was hard with the qualification and like what to give away. But now they're just competitors.
You mean in terms of being selected?
Yeah, selected
for
for your
national team.
national team. So in that way, I think it's easier having someone that's international. And also good for us with the winter training, because we've been going to Brazil and New Zealand. So, yeah, good timing.
And that makes sense to me also, like you said, when there was only one team from, not necessarily New Zealand, but one team from Norway and one team from Brazil. But you just mentioned, you go to Brazil to train, but there are some complications with training with a training partner that lives halfway around the world with boats and stuff. How do you manage those complications?
We've been fortunate enough to have training partners that has equipment good enough to lend us the boats and masts and stuff, and then we bring sails to most of the camps. Obviously, this winter it's been pretty easy because we've been shipping all the equipment first to Auckland and then here to Melbourne. But it's logistically it's been pretty tough. But we think that the upside of having really good training partners and to have a team that sits down every day and shares everything is pretty important.
Do you think some of the reason why they share everything is because they're not looking to get a spot from each other? It's not necessarily about that.
It's not necessarily about that. It makes it easier to share, but I think that the culture in the group that's been there all the way from the start, it has been really important to make that group work.
Cool. And is it a challenge marrying your methodology with the Brazilian coach methodology, with the Kiwi methodology in terms of the way you approach the training for the sailors, or?
We're pretty open in the coaches group and discuss things, and I think we're aiming for the same goal. So and it's not that difficult to know what to do when either, depending on what we're aiming at in what periods. But it's been pretty much the same all the way.
Cool. And it's borne fruit. All three of those teams have gotten medals at World Cup events and championships, and even the last Olympics was the first Olympics, so we'll see at the next one.
Let's see.
Yeah. Now for the Dutch, which also has a pretty good record in FX, how would you describe the national kind of training program?
So it starts pretty early, where we're lucky enough to have a really big group of sailors. And when I came in October 2017. We had, I think, 5 teams of girls, and we were all switching partners all the time.
Oh, wow.
And the idea there was that we were not at a high enough level that we really needed to have set teams, and we just all tried to become better sailors at our individual roles. So the idea was you learn something from everyone, and then at a certain phase you need to sort of say, okay, I need to also get into teamwork and stuff like that. So then we said, okay, we need teams now, and then we sort of all chose each other, and some people didn't get chosen.
Yeah.
And then we moved on from there, and then in the beginning it was quite a big group, and then people started sort of falling off, and then now it's just mostly us two teams who are really doing it.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
And the results have shown too in terms of the success of sailors on the team, correct?
Yeah, I think for me it was really nice because when I started, Annemiek was a lot better than me, so it was really nice to have her as a teammate and train with her. And then I think now we both have strengths. Annemiek's really good in Annemiek and Ned are really good in heavy breeze, and I think we do quite well in light breeze. So it's nice that we have a little bit of sort of one team's good at one thing and the other.
Absolutely, it's a good balance to your squad.
Yeah.
Now, one question I have is that this has been your training squad has basically been since after Rio. You've had this particular group of people since the group that you just talked about that we just
Yeah, I'd say 2018.
2018.
Like how we're really working now, only till from May after the trials.
Cool. So the question is, can you predict that the same training squads or groups, training partners, would be together after Tokyo, or do nations just kind of have to figure it out anew each time in terms of training partners?
I think so. I think that's down to what works from sailor to sailor, and the chemistry needs to be good, and they need to stay good friends. Depends also on what coach you have for that Olympic campaign. That needs to work, but so let's just wait and see who's going to continue after Tokyo.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting that it's just not necessarily always the same unless you have just a national, like a country with this deep pipeline,
But I think still, like for example, we've been also starting to train with the Danish right now, because sometimes I think 3 boats you have quite a lot, and then sometimes we feel like we're missing out and we would like another boat there. So it's been really nice to also be able to get in touch with other countries when you do need it. So be diverse, I think, what's happening and what you do.
Do you think that could make the Olympic Games, when you get to the Olympic Games, that feel actually in some way better camaraderie at the Games, that you're competing against your training partners?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's the opposite,
yeah.
right?
I don't think it matters. I don't know. We're really good friends on shore, but it's always when we launch and we get out there and we race, everyone wants to win anyway. So, and then we're good friends when we get back on shore again. So yeah, we know each other really well. And
I think it can't hurt.
no, probably not. But
No, it's not. It's nice to know that people mean well for you.
Yeah.
I think in the basis.
yeah.
Right, and you've been helping each other out for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's really nice to see the others perform. If you don't do well, it's nice to see that your training partner is going well.
And
way
you also
you-
helped a little bit
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, shifting gears for the end of this conversation, we always like to ask a little bit about some of the sailors. Your background, have you always been a sailor? Has this always been your number one thing in sport?
Yeah, I was into quite a few sports when I was younger.
Okay. Testing them out?
Yeah, I was really active and tried lots of different things. But when I was 14, 15, I kind of decided that sailing was what I wanted to.
Is that always in double-handed?
No, I sailed the Opti when I was a kid until I was 15, and then I switched to the 29er, and then the goal was always to get in to the Olympic classes. But I knew I was too small for the laser, and so it was good for me that the skipper came along.
Was there a moment where you had that idea that, like, I'd like to go to the Olympics and I actually feel like I can? Or, what I
think
mean?
that was a goal straight away after the FX got selected as the
After what?
after
the FX?
or after when they decided the skip was going to come in for the
And then you're
Olympic
like,
as well.
that looks awesome.
Yeah, that was the plan then. So. Yeah.
Awesome. And how about you? Are you a lifelong
Yeah,
sailor?
so my whole family are sailors, and I'm the youngest of 4, so it was sort of decided for me. And
Always racing?
yeah, and my dad's a sailor as well, so it was sort of a natural choice. And I think I also knew from pretty young on that this is what I really wanted to do and get good at.
And the nation puts a lot of support behind their sailors too?
Well, I was born in Curacao, so it's a bit of a different story.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, I think Curacao is a really nice country for sailing because you're on an island and there's ocean and there's sea and
Absolutely.
waves. So it's really nice, especially to learn it because it's not cold and stuff. And then I think the Netherlands has a really good, a bit different.
Yeah,
And the Netherlands,
sure.
I think, has a really good structure with just everything. So I think once you go to a higher level of sailing, that's really nice.
Awesome. And Thomas, I know it was a long time ago, if you can remember. Were you always a sailor too since you were young, or did you
Yes, basically, yeah.
family too?
Yes,
Cruising, ocean sailing, everything?
both.
Both? Yeah. Awesome. And how about your sailing career?
It stopped many years ago when I started coaching.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But do you find that once you started, I've talked to a couple coaches that it was a little bit of a moment where they felt that they had something to offer, and they actually really, right away enjoyed the coaching experience. Has that been with you too?
I've been a coachaholic for 25 years, so I really I
Early
like
on.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. And what's your favorite part about coaching?
Getting to know the sailors and work on the relationship. I think that's the
Right.
fun part.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we'll end on that, and I wish you all success. But it does show in the performance. This kind of even if there are two different types of approaches, it seems that that real focused effort, as opposed to going it on your own or just one tuning partner. It seems like it takes almost that much to get it takes a village kind of thing to get to that level. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. And so we'll wait for the 49ers to come in. But that's all for now, and we'll see you tomorrow.